Hawaiian culture dates back hundreds of years. Settled by migrating Polynesians, the core of this culture is a warm and welcoming spirit. And it has drawn visitors to these islands from all over the world. Today, those visitors are gymnasts from around the Pacific Rim, ready to show their own moves of grace, strength, and style. From the United States, a new generation of gymnasts is here. 4 young ladies out to make a name for themselves on this stage. 2 are already world champions, and that makes the USA team a favorite. The closest competition figures to come from Australia, including Manette Russo, the 3rd-ranked gymnast in the world. And their rising new star making her debut on U.S. soil, Holly Dykes. Also in the mix, a Canadian foursome capable of climbing up on the podium and challenging the top 2 teams. Every other year, many of the world's best gymnasts come to this island paradise, not to vacation, but to begin the road to the next Olympic Games, Beijing now just 2 years away. So put down that beach towel and sunscreen, there's work to be done. From Honolulu, Hawaii, it's the 2006 Pacific Alliance Gymnastics Championships. At the Blaisdell Center in Honolulu today, we begin to see the new wave of American gymnasts. Nastia Liukin, she won 2 individual world championships, but lost the all-around title by 1/1000th of a point to Chelsea Memel. And these 2 Americans lead the new wave in this team competition where they figured to be threatened by the Australians, including their new rising star.
And that star is Holly Dykes, and she is phenomenal. So artistic, so beautiful. Going to be a great day to watch her.
Of course, this is a team competition. There'll be 3 competitors on each of the apparatus. The scores will count in team competition. There will also be individual all-around medals awarded. And Shayla Worley, 15-year-old from Orlando, Florida. She made her international debut at the American Cup last month.
And Ted, she came second in that competition. She says she is a competitor. She loves to perform.
And she has upgraded this vault 1.5. That is an extra half turn. She admitted to us at the American Cup that vault was her weakest event. She said, not hard enough, got to do something more. She said, I'm psyched about my new vault, Tim.
Yeah, and she's so tremendous on the other 3 apparatus. This is actually a very difficult event for Shayla, but as Tim mentioned, a 1.5 twist has upgraded the difficulty. You can see there, she stepped sideways, out of bounds. That's a deduction.
And here's our first look in this event at the brand new scoring system that's been introduced this year in gymnastics. 2 separate scores. Alfie Schlegel and Tim Daggett, the voices you know so well, have got their master's degree already in explaining this.
Yeah, it's pretty darn complicated. Basically, you have 2 different scores. You have an A panel, and you start at 0. You add things together, you come up with the A score. The B panel still starts at a 10, and deductions come out of that 10. At the end, you combine them together, and you have your final score.
Alyssa Brown of Canada, the Canadian team beginning on the floor while the American women begin on the vault.
And she will lead the way with a very powerful routine. Alyssa is known for her power, for her tumbling. This is where she excels.
Oh, dangerously close to that line. I don't see a flag at this point. If you step out of bounds, of course, you incur deductions.
Most of the women at this level of competition are performing 4 tumbling passes. We've even heard a trend of moving into 5, which is unbelievable. Alyssa is performing 3. This is her final.
But she packs it together here. She'll do 3 acrobatic elements, all combined.
A lot of tumbling. You know, Alyssa started her international career in 2004. She was part of the Commonwealth Games team. Just recently, they won a bronze medal.
16-year-old from Oakville, Ontario.
As I mentioned, the highlight of this routine was really her tumbling, and Tim mentioned packing in a lot of tumbling in the last tumbling pass. That is really difficult to do, not to mention tiring.
And there's her combined score, 14.15, as we go back to the vault. And Nastia Liukin. Nastia Liukin winning the World Championships in Melbourne last November on the uneven bars and the balance beam. And also won the U.S. title last August.
This is certainly not her best event, but she is so clean. Perfectly pasted together legs, but the last few times we've seen Nastia vault in the competition, she has not landed as well as she can. It's remarkable in training how well she just rocks this landing, but maybe being a little bit over aggressive, kind of
a little bit of a stiff-legged landing there.
Yeah, and has a little bit of a hop forward.
And the vault score of just a shade under 15. But we'll continue in the first rotation of the Pacific Alliance Championships from Honolulu on NBC. The 2006 Pacific Alliance Gym with Elfie Schlegel and Tim Daggett, Ted Robinson at the Blaisdell Center in Honolulu. And in my introduction to gymnastics, the most wonderful name I've come across is Elise Hoffner-Hibbs.
Good
from
Canadian
Toronto,
name.
yes. As she takes her place here on the floor in this first rotation.
And a very strong event for Elise. She's just 16 years old. She has been coming up very, very strong in international competition. This should be a good event.
Elfie, is it difficult for these competitors to start on the floor?
I think that that's probably one of the more difficult events to start on. You really have to get up with the power, and there's a lot of tumbling. It's difficult, for sure.
So the line is in. If your foot touches the line, no deduction. If you step outside of it, that's when you incur the penalty.
Elise is just coming off of the Commonwealth Games, where she actually tied for first in the all-around competition, but because of the FIG ruling at the Commonwealth Games, she had to accept the silver medal.
A good routine, a lot of tumbling, a lot of variety in it.
And you know, Tim, that's really the trend of gymnastics. There's her coach, Carol Angela Orchard from Sport Seneca. A lot of tumbling in that routine, non-stop action, but good quality, good variety. There's the Arabian double front.
And look at that foot, dangerously close on the line. That is okay.
So what's the range of scores? 14-8. Is that a good floor score right now?
It's a good floor score. Whenever you see something in the 15s, that's going to be a very good score.
Here's 16-year-old Jana Bieger. She was born in Germany. Her mom was a three-time Olympic gymnast for West Germany. Now lives in Florida.
Her mom is her coach. I asked her, you know, what's the most difficult thing about having your mom being your coach? She says nothing. She said, it's great. It helps a lot. She is known for her power, and she showcases that right there. Just the small step on the landing. Great form in the air. This is actually the only event that Jana's score will contribute to the team score.
And she's a very strong vaulter. Just won a World Cup event in Germany several weeks ago on the vault. Meanwhile, Aisha Gerber, 15-year-old Canadian, a very impressive performance. She was third in the all-around at the American Cup.
Yeah, actually, Tim and I, we really like this young girl's style. She is absolutely beautiful, has the goods in terms of difficulty. Problem with her, though, is after the American Cup, she's been very ill, hasn't had a lot of training time, and her coach, Elvira Sadi, who, by the way, was an Olympian for the Soviet Union, she said, I don't know what to expect from her.
You see that heel out of bounds. That'll be a 1/10 of a point deduction.
Oh, now that's unfortunate. And that was on a dance element, a very simple skill. Elvira said she's been tired, just out of breath after every routine in the practice session. So this is a very difficult routine for her.
Once again, out of bounds. Remember, there are 3 athletes up, 3 scores count, so Canada will be counting a missed routine right here.
Well, Aisha Gerber, fabulous choice of music, by the way, by her choreographer, and sadly for her, not able to perform that the way she would like. Jana Beeger with the best score for the American women on the vault, 15. And Aisha Gerber scoring a 13.9 on the floor. And we'll come back. The first rotation, we'll see the Aussie women. They start on the uneven bars in Honolulu.
It's true.
Aloha. On behalf of the people of Hawaii, it is my pleasure to welcome many of the world's best gymnasts from the Pacific Rim to the Aloha State for the 2006 Pacific Alliance Gymnastics Championships. We also extend our greetings to the millions of gymnastics fans watching on NBC Sports. Hawaii is proud to partner with USA Gymnastics as a run-up to the 2008 Beijing Olympics by hosting this prestigious event at the Neil Blaisdell Center in Honolulu. Just 2 years ago, we were thrilled to watch Paul Halm and Carly Patterson perform so magnificently here in Hawaii. They then inspired us all when they went on to win Olympic gold medals in Athens. We are honored to share Hawaii's natural beauty and our beaches with such outstanding athletes from the Pacific region, including China, Japan, Australia, Canada, and of course, our own Team USA. Our warmest aloha to all the participants in the Pacific Alliance Gymnastics Championships and to the viewers at home. Mahalo.
Well, the gymnasts have been greeted by beautiful Hawaiian sunshine on this Easter weekend. As we come back inside and see Holly Dykes and Australian coach Peggy Liddick, as the Aussie women are getting set for their first rotation on the uneven bars. And first up will be Daria, although she prefers to be called Dasha.
Yes, and she's quite adamant about that, by the way. Dasha, please.
Wow, that was a salute. Oh, wow.
She's into it. She's ready to go. This is a great team, great characters, great gymnastics, and beautiful lines. And of course, she has the exquisite Russian lines.
Gets that from her parents, who are both Russian, and her coach, also Russian. Many of the top coaches around the world are benefiting from the mass exodus, frankly, from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, all of this gymnastics talent and knowledge now everywhere, including Australia. Nice exercise.
This is her debut, her first senior international event.
Yeah, and Peggy Liddick has been in Australia now. She's celebrating her 10th year. And she said this is the team she's been waiting for. By far the most talented group of women. And she is very excited to be working with these ladies, hoping to lead them, obviously, to Beijing.
So 14.95 is Jura's score on the uneven bars. Meanwhile, we move back to the vault. And, well, this is really a senior in the world of women's gymnastics today, as Yeni Ibarra of Mexico, 23.
Very, very powerful on this event. Unfortunately, twisted her ankle yesterday, was hesitant if she was going to be able to compete. I asked her and her coach, so you're going to give it a go? And he said, yes, she must. She needs to do it today.
Yeah, I can't believe she's doing this.
Little bit off on the run.
Ow. That hurts.
Whenever you see an athlete in gymnastics land with locked knees and bend over in the hips, they're really protecting their ankles. Yeah, she's not happy with that at all. You know, this is really an event that she shines on and was hopeful to make the event finals here. It's going to be close for her.
Well, what a difference a year makes. At the Athens Olympics, Monette Rousseau was 25th in the all-around competition. 1 year later, the World Championships in her home country of Melbourne, she was 3rd in the all-around.
Yeah, I think that makes a little bit of a difference, too, having it at home. And plus, remember, she didn't have to travel anywhere. You really have huge respect for this Australian team. They actually got a big event in their home. They usually travel hours upon hours to get anywhere in the world for big events like this.
And actually, head coach Peggy Liddick says that that is part of their selection criteria. It's built right in.
Yeah, you can't be a wimp.
If you can't handle the travel, there she is. Yeah. Right there. Shannon Miller's former coach and now the head of Australian Gymnastics.
A smile on Monette Rousseau's face. I would imagine we see so many new gymnasts. We're also seeing everyone trying to adjust routines to the new scoring system.
Yeah, this is a big year. Everybody's trying to figure out where they are in the world and how they compare with everybody else.
And frankly, they still don't even know. The athletes, the coaches, the judges, no one really knows what a good score is yet.
Now on the floor, it's Mayu Kuroda, 17-year-old from Japan.
Not really the strongest team, Japan, but this young lady, a lot of ability, a lot of talent, like her a lot. Very young, lacks some of the maturity and the artistry that's necessary on this event, but we may get a chance to watch her later on uneven bars. She really excels there. Japan has tremendous history and tradition in the sport of gymnastics. However, it is almost exclusively on the men's side. They shocked the world, regaining championship form and winning the team title at the last Olympic Games.
As you mentioned, Tim, just, lacks a little bit in the choreography department, has the skills in tumbling, but that will come with time.
It's really the most difficult thing for a younger athlete to master.
Well, Monette Rousseau, that's the highest difficulty score we've seen on the bars.
Very nice job. Excellent routine, actually.
Well, it's a coming out year for so many new young gymnasts, and here's Aussie's star, double star, Holly Dykes.
Star in the making, that's for sure. She has a special quality about her. Her coach, though, telling us that she's still young. He recognizes that he's got something special there, but...
Well, and you can have that talent, but then you have to translate it to international competition. You have to perform, and that's what Peggy is doing. Although she's brought her here to this event, her goal is she needs to perform. She needs to prove her right.
But I like that. I'll tell you, that last release that she did, she has struggled on that.
A little wobble there.
That is a mistake. She was supposed to continue over the bar just like that and do that pirouette. So remember, there are 3 athletes that compete and all scores count. You don't get to drop a score like in the past, so that's not disastrous, but that's going to hurt a little bit.
Well, and it's all part of her experience. It's all part of Holly being here and learning how to handle this type of competition.
All right, so what would that be about?
Well, Peggy Liddick is the head Australian coach, speaking to Nellie Kim, who is the, I guess, the big kahuna in women's gymnastics, too. And there is the mistake right there. She was supposed to pirouette over the bar. She has to repeat the element.
And see, her difficulty score was much lower than Russo's. Her teammates comes in at 14.8. That was the lowest of the 3 Aussies on the bars. And Mayu Kuroda comes in at 13.85 on the floor. So the first rotation is done. The U.S. women will be moving to the bars. When we come back, we'll also tabulate the scores. And we'll find out if the Aussies' bar routine was enough to get them number 1. Well, after the first rotation, scores are in, and the Aussies good enough on the bars to have the lead, with the United States second and Mexico ahead of Canada. And the best individual score in the first rotation was Monette Russo's 15.1 on the bars. Well, coming off their Commonwealth Games victory, Tim, how surprising is it to see Australia in the lead after the first rotation?
Well, not surprising at all. You know, they had been knocking on the door for so long, and the thing that they lacked was a true bona fide star, but I think they've got one in Holly Dykes. Now, she is young and lacks experience, but she's got that certain something. You walk into the arena and your eye is just drawn to her immediately. Head coach of the Australian team, Peggy Liddick, said that she's had her eye on her for 10 years. She's special. She goes to beam next. It's awesome there.
All right, and Elfie, for the American team, which of course is extremely deep, what does this mean for them?
Well, for the Americans, anytime they show up at an event, they want to win, absolutely. And they brought 4 very strong athletes. Now, they have athletes like Nastia Liukin, who, like Holly Dykes, has the looks that the judges absolutely drool over. But for the Americans, if they do the job that they're capable of doing, they absolutely will be unbeatable. And they have strong events to come, bars, balance beam, and floor exercise. They're amazing.
Well, it's the first time we're seeing Chelsea Memel since she won the all-around world championship last November. She warms up for her bar routine. Nastia Liukin will be third up for the United States on the bars as we go to the vault now. And Aisha Gerber trying to help lift the Canadians out of 4th place and trying to put in her memory a rough floor exercise.
And this will be tough for her because floor exercise and vault, they're all power events. And when you've been a little bit sick, a little bit down, I think she's planning on doing actually an easier vault than she's capable of.
Which is unfortunate because at the American Cup we saw a much stronger athlete, and obviously the sickness has really taken its toll on her.
Yeah, she's capable of doing a much more difficult vault, and not just the difficulty, but actually she's a little bit rounded. Her body's a little piked in the air. You see the bend of the hips right there, and once again, got to stay inside of that far right line.
You see a fairly low difficulty score, 14 total for Aisha Gerber. Chelsea Memel did not compete in the American Cup. She had surgery on a foot, so she is back. She approaches her 18th birthday, trying to get into competitive shape and also, again, get used to the routines and the new scoring system.
Yeah, this is actually her first time ever competing with the new scoring system. She said that after the injury, this was her goal, to be ready for the Pacific Alliance Championships. Beautiful first release, connected right to the low bar. This, of course, an event that she has just about every title that you can have in the world.
I think for Chelsea, this is a good way for her to ease back into the competition. She likes the team atmosphere, and it's sometimes very difficult to be coming in with that title, world champion. Of course, everyone here expects her to win the individual all around.
Double front, small, tiny little step. A great exercise for Chelsea. I tell you, she is one of the toughest competitors you will ever come into contact with.
And I think her mindset has been great for this competition. She knew that she wasn't quite in top form, but she was prepared, especially on this event, uneven bars. She said this is an easy event for her. Look at that difficulty score.
Boy, that is a terrific score. 15-1 was the best Aussie score. Chelsea Memel, 15-5 as we move back to the vault. Marcy Bernholtz, she'll turn 18 by the end of the month, the second Canadian on the vault.
Marcy actually has quite a bit of international experience. She just returned as well from Cottbus in Germany, which is a World Cup competition. Did fairly well there.
Not a powerful vault, though, just a full twisting Yurchenko. Really, in today's gymnastics, it's too easy, to be quite honest.
Well, at the American Cup, the top vaults we were seeing there were double twisting Yurchenkos, and that's really what you need at this level of competition.
Well, Shayla Worley, and talked a lot, Tim, about special qualities. You look at Shayla Worley, she's got a little presence about her, doesn't she?
Yeah, she is so unintimidated. She's outgoing. She walks into an arena. She says hello to you right away, looks you right in your eye. Her coach, Jeff Wood, says you can really talk to her. She thinks very well. She'll do 3 releases. There's the second one.
Yeah, these just fly. They're absolutely gorgeous. Her routine is very different because she takes the risk in skills like this. But what uneven bars has become are the handstand positions. The judges are really looking for those positions right on top of the bar.
Come on now. Come on, Shay.
She is definitely a person that is going to be around, and put a little glue on those feet. Don't move them.
Buddy, that was sweet. Way to go.
Well, you talk about a big bear of a man, Jeff Wood, coaching Shayla Worley. In fact, the only of the 4 American women here, this is the only one who's not being coached by a parent.
Wow, she was so on those release skills. Beautiful height, beautiful execution as well. That's going to be a good score.
Wow, 15-5-5. So the first 2 Americans on the bars have blown away the best Aussie scores, and now Nastia Liukin, and all she is the reigning world champion in this event.
Yeah, and she really is. If she does what she's capable, she is the best in the world right now on this event. Really, very little doubt about that. And she does it with incredible lines and a super open or straight shoulder angle. You see just a perfectly, like a pencil.
Where Shayla took risk in the release skills, as does Nastia, she has to be so sure that she's on top of the bar.
And a little bit off. That's so difficult, that 1.5 twist spin that she does.
But that was beautiful, that release skill. Her legs were glued together, and that's difficult to do.
So Nastia Liukin, that's her father, Valery, who was an Olympic gymnast in Russia. And we'll get the scores and see if the Americans regain first place.
Starting Monday.
Earlier this week, USA Gymnastics partnered with Outrigger Hotels and sponsored an opening ceremony for the athletes of these Pacific Alliance Gymnastics Championships. Beautiful late afternoon on a park along the Waikiki Beach, and the athletes enjoyed watching dances and cultural moves in the traditional Hawaiian costumes. A wonderful way to begin their week in Honolulu. Nastia Liukin lived up to her billing. Look at that score, 15-9-5 on the bars. And Nastia Liukin living up to her world championship form, and there's no question here, she sticks it. And for more on that, let's join Andrea Joyce.
Ted, most of these gymnasts will be heading home after this competition, but not Nastia Liukin. She has bigger plans. She's going to be in Hollywood tomorrow night, strutting her stuff on the red carpet at the world premiere of the new gymnastics movie, Stick It. Now, she was supposed to have a very small part in the movie, but the producers liked her so much, they expanded the role. Nastia told me she had a great time during the filming, and after all of these years on the balance beam, she says walking on the red carpet in high heels should be a breeze. There's just one problem. Her dad, Valeri, he doesn't want her to wear the high heels. According to Nastia, he's just afraid that she'll be taller than him, and that's your Hollywood gossip for the day. Ted?
All right, we'll see who wins that battle. But guess what? I'm sitting alongside the real stars of Stick It.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Daggett, joined along with Elfie Schlegel.
Stick it.
You guys look marvelous.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted.
Very surprising.
So are you going to be at the red carpet?
No, unfortunately, we will not be.
We're working.
Yeah.
We're working.
All right, here's Dasha Jura leading off for the Aussies on the beam.
Yeah, I love that presentation. Doesn't that make you just want to watch this girl? It's fantastic. Great personality. What you're going to see immediately is just the beautiful, exquisite work. Cool moves like this. She works this balance beam like she's on the floor. It's unbelievable. Just great, great execution.
Australia has really been on the fringe of cracking that top spot. They did win a bronze medal at the 2003 World Championships. But I tell you, this group of athletes that they have, certainly the best that I've ever seen.
They've actually left one of their other athletes at home who performed quite well at last month's Commonwealth Games, and she was actually getting some dental surgery. Peggy said she had no choice. She really had to get it done at this point in time. So this isn't even her best team. But what you have here in this athlete is just a look that you can't help but love. And especially those judges down there watching this.
Just the dismount, the great stick on that landing.
Of Australia on balance beam.
Good routine. Panic situation.
Spoken like a true head coach. Good routine. That's a compliment from Peggy, by the way. But she was quick to point out the few little mistakes. I love this skill.
Very different. Kind of like a front with a half, but she starts in an aerial takeoff, and very, very different. Nicely done.
Yeah, cool move.
So 14-1 for Dasha Jura, now Holly Dykes.
And this is the event that really caught my attention, and it really had very little to do with the difficulty that she does. This routine is packed, but it's her entire presence and her poise throughout the exercise. Just everything so calm. Every detail, all the way down to her fingertips, is choreographed.
Look at that switch ring leap. That's very difficult. She takes her eyesight off the beam. That's what makes it so risky. Tim talked about how she's performing each skill. The straight legs, the toe point. Just the ease that she works in and out of each skill. Look at that.
Beautiful, beautiful work.
Nice, Holly.
Well, she certainly has variety in this routine.
Well, the Americans have had great scores on the bars in this set, so the Aussies need a performance here from Holly Dykes.
This is going to get a big score.
3 up, 3 count, and they will take that one. That should be not big, that should be huge right there. I tell you, you really can't choreograph a better timeline for a gymnast either.
See? I've been So you're shaking it off. Did you feel good? Yeah. You feel comfortable? And yeah, a couple of things.
Typically, a gymnast that 2 years out of the Olympics, if they are starting their march, it's really a great timing for this young lady to be one of the contenders. Hate to foreshadow too much, but she's really tremendous.
Yeah, she should be in the beam finals.
Well, there's the score. That's the first 16 of the night. Tim, is that a magic number?
That's not big. That is gigantic.
The highest scores so far today. In Honolulu at the Pacific Alliance Championships, gymnasts from 13 Pacific Rim countries gathering for this competition. The women's team competition right now sees the United States feeling much better about things after their great bar routines.
Woo, go USA.
So there it is, a little team vibe, and Nastia Liukin leading the way with a 15.95 on her bar routine. Bettered only by Holly Dykes' 16.0 on the beam. So it's a little closer than it was after the first rotation, and now the last Aussie on the beam, Monette Rousseau.
She actually is doing only 2 events in this competition, is recovering from an ankle injury. She wanted to do all 4, but the head coach, Peggy Liddick, said, no, we can't risk it. Got to save her for the World Championships. She actually wears a boot to stabilize that foot whenever she's not in the gym.
Yeah, and this is definitely a tough event. I was just going to say, on that ankle. Small little wobble right there. The end of that acrobatic skill. Peggy's done a great job with this team. Of course, this is Peggy's forte, coaching the balance beam. She says she's more hands-on as a national coach. Obviously, their individual coaches do a lot of the work, but they have many training camps. In fact, I think, Tim, she told us about 8 a year. They gather together.
Peggy, of course, coached Olympic gold medalist Shannon Miller, both in the team and on this individual event, to Olympic gold.
Monette Rousseau, who won the first individual all-around medal for Australia ever at the World Championships last November, finishing on the beam.
That's from the cover on that. This is out. Man, that was about a meter and a half. Okay. Yeah. Good girl. Thank you.
Good job.
Whenever you add elements prior to an acrobatic dismount, she does 2 back handsprings into this double pike. Makes it far more difficult. She holds on to her pike position
hop.
a little bit too long, has to take that big hop.
And so Rousseau comes in at 15 even. And that's the end of the second rotation. And, well, despite Holly Dykes' great beam routine, the United States' depth on the bars shines, and the USA regains the lead at the halfway mark of the Pacific Alliance Championships. At the Pacific Alliance Championships, the United States women had a fabulous set of bar routines, and they've retaken the first place from Australia. Canada has overtaken Mexico for third. One of the new wave of American gymnasts, Shayla Worley, 15 years old, and she made her international debut last month on NBC at the American Cup in Philadelphia.
Goosebump City.
It was amazing. It was so much fun. You know, it was the first time I'd done a senior meet, and there was a great crowd, and like I was just soaking it up. It was a lot of fun.
Was it ever? What a debut. A surprising second place finish for a 15-year-old who found inspiration following her big sister around.
My older sister, Jolene, she was doing gymnastics, and you know, I wanted to be just like her. I tried to copy her and, you know, do everything like her. And as soon as I was old enough to, you know, start in the tiny tot classes, boy, I was there. You know, I wanted to be just like my sister.
From training with Big Sister, Shayla now trains with a new family, sharing her life with her new teammates and a very confident attitude.
Oh, we're close. We're like sisters. You know, we all love each other. We're a great team. We're always there for each other. If anyone's having a rough day, you know, there's always someone to lean on. And I go through my routines in my mind, and before each skill, you know, I have like a keyword to think about so I do my skill correctly. I don't know, you just have to be calm in your mind and be really confident. You can't start second guessing yourself, and you just have to believe in yourself. You know, the American Cup, Pacific Alliance, it's all just stepping stones to 2008 Olympics.
This really highlights the amazing depth that USA Gymnastics has, and USA Gymnastics has become the envy of many of the other American programs.
Yeah, I think all over the world, people marvel at how many athletes they have. Of course, Shayla came from the junior ranks, and even at this competition, they have an amazing set of juniors competing here as well.
All right, we'll be going to Shayla Worley on the beam in just a moment as we start rotation 3 with Canada's Alyssa Brown on the bars.
Alyssa actually trains at Gymnastics Mississauga. Her coach is Alex Bard, who is a transplanted Russian coach. He's actually celebrating 30 years at Gymnastics Mississauga in Canada. He's having a big retirement party coming up in the fall. He's invited me, by the way.
Remember, the uneven bars, they're all about handstand positions, and they are so critical with the new code of points. You can't be even just a little bit off. It's got to finish right dead in a handstand.
Yeah, you can't get away with it. You can see those lines. It's staring you right in the face.
Canada presently 5 points back with the new scoring system. Everybody trying to figure it out. We're used to thousandths of a point. We don't know how far away that is.
Well, Alyssa Brown getting a greeting after her bar routine.
Definitely some errors, though, throughout the exercise. The handstand positions, not so great. The step, which is obvious, but also some form, legs apart in the air.
And her score at 14-2 on the low end of what we've seen so far today. As Shayla Worley mentioned, she is the only one of the 4 U.S. women competing here today who's not being coached by a parent. There is Shayla's mom on the left, Debbie, who's a court reporter, and on the right is her grandmother.
Wow, you can tell she comes from that family. Oh.
And we mentioned that presence Shayla has. She's done some acting in her childhood, also been featured in a lot of billboards around her hometown area in Orlando.
And Ted, she can translate that right here to gymnastics, and in particular on this apparatus. The one thing I want to point out about Shayla is she's not afraid to take her eyes off the balance beam. She's not afraid to look over to the judges. That's what I love about her focus. It's on the beam, it's off the beam, and she still stays on. Very well done.
With the new rules, a fall is 0.8 of a point deduction, up from 0.5 of a point. And remember, 3 gymnasts up, all scores count, so even one fall can change the landscape dramatically. Nice little illusion turn there. Boy, that was great because she was a little bit off on that, and
pulls it back.
That's the mark of a champion. You can't just be able to do it when it's perfect. You gotta be able to make it look perfect when it's not.
A lot of twisting elements in this routine. She's setting up now for her dismount. You can see the hours and hours of balance beam work that's gone into this particular routine, and it's not a surprise to me at all that she stays on and does such a great routine.
So Shayla Worley leading off for the U.S. women on the beam. Jana Beeger, one of her teammates.
When Shayla works balance beam, she's very exact, right on. You can see those hips and shoulders have to be in line, slightly off, as Tim mentioned, on that third skill, but manages to pull it on.
And Shayla Worley does get over 15. 15-2 to start. Chelsea Memel, Nastia Lukin on the beam coming up.
I mean, I don't mean to brag.
Chelsea Memel is really the oldest of the U.S. women gymnasts on the road to Beijing. She'll be 20 by the time the game starts there, but she's now the reigning all-around World Gymnastics champion.
That was just like an amazing month for me. You know, all the preparation leading up to it, and then getting there and, you know, training with everyone. And that was just like my main goal, was to hit my routines and, you know, leave it up to the judges to decide. But it was definitely amazing. It was just one of the most amazing feelings that I've ever had, like winning world championships. I still can't believe it.
By 1/1000th of a point, the narrowest margin ever. Will she be able, at 20 years old, is that going to be okay for her?
It's definitely possible. It gets more difficult, though.
But it's been done.
Yeah,
it's been done worldwide.
And a person like her, who is just so mentally tough, that will help tremendously. But physically, it's going to be a challenge.
And because of skills that you're going to see her perform on this balance beam routine, I mean, it's wear and tear on the body. You know, when she won the world championships, I think she sort of breathed a little easier, because that's really what made her decision to stay on in the sport.
Comes her first big skill, handles it quite well. A front with a half, or a Barani. You know, that U.S. team was so dominant at the World Championships. They won 9 individual medals, 4 gold, 4 silver, and a bronze. A phenomenal performance. Here's her second big skill in Arabian.
Very tough, because she loses sight of the beam. She's changing direction. It's a blind landing. She just had a little wobble.
That is amazing, though. 3/4 of her right foot was not on the beam, and it looked like no big deal. Wow.
Well, after watching her warm up, she was rather unsettled. A little break there again. She had quite a few falls in her warm-up, but this is a sign of a world champion, just settling into the routine, going back to the basics and remembering what it's all about. Very difficult skill. We saw Shayla Worley perform that, the illusion turn. They'll take that score.
So the U.S. women off to a good start in the beam. Shayla Worley, and now Chelsea Memel. That's her dad, Andy, coach. He was a college gymnast.
So here is her first acrobatic skill. This one she does very well. Now, on her second, remember the Arabian. Let's look at that foot. Most athletes, look at that right foot. It's like barely even on the beam.
What a fighter.
Most athletes been on the floor, 8/10 deduction, not Chelsea Memel.
Boy, look at that score, 15-8, just a shade under the tremendous score that Holly Dykes of Australia had. Nastia Liukin will be getting set shortly on the beam, but first we go to the bars. Elise Hoffner-Hibbs of Canada.
I think everyone's trying to find a leader for their team, and I have to say this young lady has impressed me tremendously in this competition with her level of confidence, her skills. She is definitely the leader of this Canadian team.
Do a nice pirouetting combination. Coming up right after this toe on into a release. Very nicely done. Has a little bit of Lilia Podkapaeva features.
You know, her coach, Carol Angela Orchard, said that she's really tried to get her out into the international world, compete often, to gain this type of confidence and to hit routines like this.
Great fight for that landing.
Okay. Good fight. Actually, I was wondering if this was just legs give up. Yeah. Just gave up. Good fight in there, honey. Okay.
There it is. Good fight.
Good fight.
Kind of reminds you of a young Elfie Schlegel, doesn't it?
That was a long time ago.
Hey, wait a minute.
Nastia Liukin now getting set for her beam routine. She's the third of the Americans and had the outstanding best performance so far in the bars today. 15.95.
Every team wants to get beam out of the way, get those 3 hits, and then they can take a deep sigh of relief. And if you took all the coaches in the arena, polled them, and said, who would you like to be that last person, they'd probably pick this lady right here.
She is the world champion. And again, you're going to see gorgeous lines, beautiful dance elements, not to mention difficult elements like this.
She'll land on 2 feet right here, makes it even more difficult. Beautiful turn.
Nastya, of course, gets her dance ability from her mother, who was a rhythmic gymnast from Russia. A world champion, actually, in rhythmic gymnastics.
Yeah, she definitely, whoa, little bit off there. Definitely has the genes. Her dad, a multiple gold medal winner in the Olympic Games. One of the greatest of all time. Really credited as the first athlete to do a triple back somersault on the floor exercise. He was, of course, part of the powerful Soviet Union team.
What you're seeing here is just exquisite lines and dance and beautiful split elements taken right to the 180. Just gorgeous positions.
Triple twist. Let's see if she gets this all the way around. Very, very good. Much better, actually. One area she has not been as good, as perfect as she usually is on that dismount. There is her coach, her dad, Valery Lyukin. Watch this right here. Great and perfect landing. That a side flip. Those feet, they kind of just like wrap around that beam.
So 15-6, very good score. A little bit below Chelsea Memel. And the score for Hofner-Hibbs, just a shade over 15 on the bars. But the Americans with 3 strong performances on the beam will come back. And the Aussies will be on the floor in the 3rd rotation of the Pacific Alliance Championships in Honolulu.
NBC.
Hawaii's special to everyone in their own way. It's very magic. It's very fresh. Everyone's out running, everyone's out swimming, everyone's out enjoying the outdoors. You never want to have your windows closed when you're here. You always want to be taking in the beautiful Hawaiian air.
Hawaii is a dream around the globe. It's a place where people can still have fantasies and it can be real.
I think what makes us special is the people, the diversity of the people here, the backgrounds that we come from, the mosaic of humanity that makes up the state of Hawaii. I don't think there's another place like it on the planet.
In Honolulu, now we move to the floor. The United States women trying to maintain their lead with very solid performances on the beam. The Aussies in the 3rd rotation on the floor. And our first look at Monique Blunt, who was a junior competitor here 2 years ago. 16 years old, born in Washington, D.C.
Peggy Liddick said that Monique was actually a fill-in for one of her other top athletes who couldn't participate here, but she is expecting good things from her.
Very nice triple twist. Looks very tall on television, and for a gymnast actually is, but in real life, not really.
Peggy says that Monique is actually, her specialty is balance beam and floor exercise, and she suspects that she would be a good fill-in for this team come time for the World Championships and the Olympic Games.
Whoa, barely holding on to that dismount.
And this may be where the depth tells the tale in this team competition. Can the back end of the Australian teams keep up with the Americans?
Yeah, I thought Monique actually had very great skill. She's a beautiful dancer. This was certainly one of the highlights of her tumbling, the triple twist. Look at the height. Clean twisting action in the air, solid landing.
Body is all the way around, both parts, upper body and lower body. That's what the judges are looking for.
And she comes in at 15 on the floor.
Very happy bunch of athletes. They have a similar system to the United States. They train in different parts of the country, but they come together so frequently for these training camps. They say they're like one big happy family.
There's the salute of Dasha Jura. It's always fascinating to watch individual athletes trained to be individuals when they get the chance to participate as a team, as we're seeing here today.
It's the best part, no question about it. Oh, that is bad right there. Remember, new code of points. If they call that a fall, that will be 0.8 of a point as opposed to 0.5 in the old rules. And in this team competition, 3 kids up, every single score counts. They cannot afford that.
The U.S. team has left no room for error for the Aussies.
I just love the way Dasha moves. It's so natural, it's so beautiful, but it helps also to have a great choreographer. Adriana Pope, who is their choreographer, is an ex-rhythmic gymnast from Romania. She now lives in France. She's really brought out the best in these girls.
So now the question will be, how much does that fall hurt? And the Aussies may not be able to recover if it hurts them dramatically with the score.
Literally tried to stick it, you know? It was really high, and you just went, okay, I'm going to stick this, and you put your feet behind it.
Yeah, sometimes that's exactly what you do. You are trying too hard to be exact and perfect. Try to stick it, like Peggy said, and just...
She opened up too early.
Yeah, she shot her feet in back of her, and that's a fall. The judges should call that a fall.
And the score for Dasha Jura coming. And boy, you can see they absolutely, Tim, they did what you said.
8.15 in execution. Remember, that score comes out of a 10.0, so that's smart.
And that's going to really be difficult for the Aussies to overcome as Holly Dykes takes the floor.
When we were talking with Peggy, we were asking her how she could sum up this athlete, and she told Tim and I that she's had her eye on her for 10 years now, but she said what makes Holly so different is she's really the prima ballerina. She's not part of the core, she's the prima ballerina.
Well, she definitely has it, I'll tell you. I don't know if you can ever really coach that, to be perfectly honest. She was born with a little bit of a gift, and that guy right there, Valery Kalizinski, he has done a tremendous job bringing all of that talent to the surface. He was a great coach of Yelena Piskun, a former champion in her own right.
Yeah, Tim, as I was watching this routine, I was thinking, you know, that is so beautiful. There were so many parts to it that were just exquisite. The dance in particular, she's really the package gymnast. She has the difficulty, she has the artistry. Look at this skill.
Yeah, you know, she really, though, reminds me so much. I mean, look at how perfect, you know, not a simple dance element, but just the extension, the knees, the toes, the poise and the presence. She's got it all.
And we'll watch her and the young Americans grow up in front of us for the next 2 years, leading to Beijing. 15-1, that's the highest on the floor for the Aussie women. And that gets us through the third rotation with the American women watching. We'll check the standings when we come back. After 3 of the 4 rotations at the Pacific Alliance Championships, the United States women with nearly a 4-point lead over Australia in the team standings. Nastia Liukin has the lead over Holly Dykes of Australia in the individual. Chelsea Memel, getting set for her final rotation on the floor, is in third. And the 2 young American standouts separated by just 1/1000th of a point at the World Championships in November.
And Ted, you couldn't ask for 2 totally different styles. Liukin, elegant, beautiful lines, and then Chelsea Memel, very powerful gymnast.
Meanwhile, what a debut for Holly Dykes as she stands in second in the individual competition. The Aussies will be finishing on the vault. Meanwhile, there were plenty of other competitions here in Honolulu during this weekend, including rhythmic gymnastics. Olga Karmansky from Brooklyn is now the United States' leading rhythmic gymnast. She's on the left, and she struggled with her ball routine. The competition here held just down the street from us at the Hawaii Convention Center, but she climbed all the way to 4th place with a good rally. The gold medalist, however, Cynthia Valdez of Mexico.
And what a great opportunity this was for Cynthia. Here you can see her showing off the beauty, the grace, the balance, and the creativity that it takes to be a #1 gymnast in this sport.
Meanwhile, here in the Blaisdell Center last night, what turned out to be an awfully entertaining and competitive men's competition was held, Tim.
Well, the Chinese men came with the best team on paper, but that never materialized. In rotation 4, disaster strikes on the pommel horse.
All right, Elfie, here's our designated Kai Schufeld moment for you.
Yeah, Kyle was psyched to come to this competition. He felt that they brought one of the strongest men's team, and he knew he was going to score big on this event.
Canada had the lead, but David Durante for Team USA is there to keep them in the mix. And add an exclamation point with that dismount.
Now into rotation 5, and troubles for Canada here on the pommel horse.
Well, they had been so spectacular. A huge lead at this point, but the wheels came not just off, they came crashing off. This routine scored a dismal 11.
So the American men watching now as David Durante took to the high bar.
High flying action. 3 big, gorgeous release moves. With this routine and 2 flips and 2 twists, they close the gap on Canada and move to within 2 points.
But in the 6th and final rotation, it was a charger from the back of the pack that ended up taking the glory.
Japan, 6 points behind Canada at this point. 3 of the best vaults I have ever witnessed. Tremendous difficulty, huge power, bam. Don't move. And one final vaulter. They averaged over 16 points, which in current day gymnastics is gigantic.
So America's last chance was on the floor with Guillermo Alvarez.
And it was not good. Right there. Major deduction. And this makes 2.
And so the United States ended up falling to 4th and left the Japanese quite
happy.
What a night for the
Thank you.
Japanese. And the Americans will be trying to do the same thing here. Chelsea Memo will lead the way on the floor coming up in Honolulu. And now back to 30 Rock for our Sunday sports update from NBC. In Honolulu, the Pacific Alliance Championships moving to the 4th and final rotation, with the United States maintaining its lead over Australia. The United States will be on the floor in the final rotation. Canada starts on the beam with Alyssa Brown.
It's always tough being the first competitor of your team, leading off the team, hoping for a good solid score to build on.
Nice mount. We saw that from a couple of different Canadians. That front handspring, reminiscent of Courtney McCool from the USA.
Combination skill right here.
Very difficult.
What's changed a little bit under the technical side of the score is that the women's side of the competition now includes skills that are in the F and G category. It used to go only up until E. Each skill has a specific amount of points assigned to it. Whip.
Complicated, but what that means is there are 2 different panels. An A panel, they take all of these skills, they take basically the top 10 elements, they add them up, that becomes the A score. They add that to the execution or the deductions, and remember that starts from the full 10.0.
So the A score, you're saying, Tim, is what we see as difficulty.
Exactly.
And the B score, you could theoretically score a 10.
Yes.
Well, Canada trying to hang on to 3rd place, 4 points ahead of Japan, almost 10 points behind the United States.
I think Carol's relieved that she stayed on the beam, but you know, it's more than that. It's the small little deductions that will add up for Alyssa. She had some great skills in this routine, very difficult skills, but little things like the toes and the knees,
Yeah.
right there, that's a very difficult combination, and just an adjustment there on the landing will cost her as well. There's her longtime coach, Alex Bard, or I should say Alex Bard, 30 years at Gymnastics Mississauga.
And the score 14-6-5 for Alyssa Brown. So now the American women on the floor for the final rotation. And first up is Shayla Worley.
I'll tell you, she looked so calm at the American Cup when we commented to her, and she goes, "Oh, that's good. I wasn't on the inside."
But she says she's a competitor, and she absolutely loves performing in front of an audience.
Pretty calm there, too. Actually can do a more difficult second tumbling pass and add another half twist, but her coach Jeff Wood said, yeah, we're just gonna wait a little while and polish it up a little bit.
Triple full right there. You know, it's hard to believe when you look at Shayla. It doesn't appear as if she can handle some of these more powerful tumbling passes, but she does, along with great choreography.
Double pike, and that will cost her. Holds on to her rotation a little bit too long. Takes a big bounding step backwards, and add on top of that, going beyond that white line, will incur an additional deduction. So it was great until the very end.
Well, the United States 4 points ahead of Australia in the team standings entering this final rotation.
Yeah, they just basically need to stay on their feet. That's what it comes down to.
Did you have a good time?
Did you have a good time? I loved it. 4 tumbling passes in this routine. This was number 1, double Arabian, beautiful height, solid landing.
Just has a little bit too much on this one. This her dismount. Double pike somersault. Holds onto those legs a little too long. Hips are in back and takes that step out of bounds.
So the score coming now for Shayla Worley at 14-9. Now the highest floor score so far in the competition has just been 15.1. So that's only a shade off the best of the day as we go back to the beam for Aisha Gerber of Canada.
And she has really struggled today at dealing with some sickness, and her coach tells us that she's allergic to all antibiotics, can take nothing.
That was part of the problem. It took so long for her to get over this.
Yeah, because just a month ago in Philadelphia at the American Cup, she was, one of the most impressive athletes. But to fall on an element like that, Elf, that's...
Full turn.
Yeah, amazing. Something is definitely not right.
And it does amaze you that in a month how things can turn just because of one illness.
Well, and it gives you a good appreciation of just how much training it does take to work on a 4-inch balance beam. I mean, these young ladies, every practice are doing 10, 15 balance beam routines. And, you know, when you take away that, it's tough. It's tough to regain the feel for the beam and your elements.
Obviously, with this performance and the fall, Canada is not going to challenge the top 2. They will struggle to hopefully hold on to that spot on the podium.
Yeah, that was a really tough routine for her. 1 minute and 30 seconds up there on that balance beam. I'm sure it felt like 10 minutes to Aisha.
And no question, just a disappointing competition for Aisha Gerber and for Canada. But we'll come back. Chelsea Memel, the reigning all-around world champion, will take her spot on the floor to try to bring the Americans the team title. Back in Honolulu, the struggles for Aisha Gerber highlighted particularly the execution score in the beam.
Yeah, I think that's the first number in the 7s we've seen here today.
So Chelsea Memel getting ready on the floor. The United States women with the lead in this overall team competition. There are going to be all-around individual medals awarded as well tonight. And entering this final rotation, Chelsea Memel is in 3rd place. Nastia Lukin has the lead. And Holly Dykes of Australia is 2nd.
And this is about as jam-packed with difficulty as you can get. Multiple skills in a row in this first tumbling run. Very difficult. Great.
Very, very strong exercise, upbeat, powerful tumbling, as Tim mentioned, packed with difficulty. And what was so impressive, all the landings were just bang on. Beautiful.
Would you, both of you, say this is a good return, successful return for Chelsea Memel?
Yeah, I don't think it could have been any better. Yeah, that really was a great job for her. You know, you come off of a surgery, and to walk out on the floor, on top of that, you have the pressure. She is the world champion. Every eye is on her until the next major championships. That's who they're gunning for, right there. And like we said, coming back from that injury and tumbling like that.
Marta Caroli.
She is the equivalent to Peggy Liddick, the team coordinator for USA.
Now Lise Hoffner-Hibbs on the beam for Canada in this final rotation.
Had a very nice day so far. She just really has not had the troops to back her up quite like they needed. Once again, that same front handspring, very nicely done, like that.
And it would have been nice, especially on this event. I think she has one of the most difficult balance beam routines, and check out this skill. This is really difficult. She'll change direction and keep tumbling.
Do three
Aerial
in a
side.
row.
Wow.
Wow, that's great.
And I saw her do that skill that perfectly in all the practices. She's never fallen off of it here. Elise says that Kyle Schufelt of Canada, who of course is Canada's first ever Olympic gold medalist from the Athens Olympics on floor exercise, she loves talking to him. He gives her great advice. I'd like to know what he asks her, what he tells her. She's really matured as a competitor in the last 2 years, and I think I attribute that to double turn. That's difficult.
Her coach, Carol Orchard, says she can actually capable of doing a triple turn, but the American beam that is used, she says, is a lot stickier, and it's harder to get the revolutions around. That bell means time to get off.
She's a great athlete. She's had a lot of international experience, and that has certainly helped her here.
Very supportive has been Carol Orchard of all of her gymnasts today. Now, Nastia Lukin getting ready on the floor, and we still do not have a score for Chelsea Memel. Apparently, there is a question about it. And in the new scoring system, there is the ability to file an inquiry on the difficulty portion of the score.
Yeah, and that actually all came about from basically the fiasco that occurred in Athens. Just the judging problem, mistake after mistake. So most likely a written inquiry has been presented on the difficulty.
I actually saw Chelsea's father, Andy, hand a piece of paper in to the judges.
She's a twister. Oh, wow. That, you do not see that from Nastia really ever. That was gigantic mistake. First one all day, and really I can't remember the last time I saw her have an error of that magnitude.
Now, the United States is in very good shape in the team competition, but remember, the individual all around, Nastia Lukin has the lead. Might that cause a change?
And she's got to think quickly on her feet as well, because not only does she have the error, but you can't repeat skills, and she might be able to add something in that was supposed to go at the end of that second tumbling run. Gets pretty confusing out there. Wow, that was unusual. But like a pro, she handles that.
And isn't that the challenge as we watch all these new young gymnasts, is how do you handle an early slip?
Yep.
Valeri, her father and her coach with the arm around. No question this young lady's going to get spectacular coaching from a father who's got 2 gold medals.
And it's tough for him because he's on the sidelines, and if you watch him off to the side, he's living every move because he knows exactly what it feels like to do these tumbling elements.
But when you have to rebound after an acrobatic element, you have to be exactly on, and she just doesn't meet the floor at all.
It's like her legs just gave out.
Yeah. You know what? That was close, though. That actually looked a little worse to me in the meet. I don't really think she sat that down.
Well, that score's definitely opened the door in the individual competition. 14-6-5. Marta Caroli saying it needs more time. 14-9 for Hofner-Hibbs on the beam. Holly Dykes and the Aussies next.
Okay.
Well, in Honolulu, it's I think a fairly confident group of United States women. Not completely finished yet, but looking good in the team competition. But here's the story. After the inquiry, Chelsea Memmel's score of 15.45 has actually put her in a flat-footed tie with Nastia Liukin in the overall competition. Of course, Holly Dykes still to come, and she'll have a chance as Monique Blunt is first up on the vault for the Australians.
A nice laid-out Arabian from Yurchenko style. What makes this vault so difficult is the landing is completely blind.
And in this team competition, the women only perform 1 vault. So this is the score that will count.
And Australia really needs 3 magnificent scores here to threaten the United States in this final rotation, and that score probably not going to do it. 13-5 for Monique Blunt, consoled by her coach Peggy Liddick. And things looking very good for the Americans. Marta Caroli making her presence behind the team bench as the second Aussie vaulter gets set. Dasha Jura.
I think she's just happy this is her last event.
Of her rookie competition, first ever senior international.
Nice.
Very beautiful vault. Beautiful.
Lots to smile about there.
And there's nothing better than planting those feet and not moving an inch. It's the best feeling in the world, especially on vaulting. It's the last thing the judge sees. It's like, bam, exclamation mark.
And tough to do, especially on a blind landing. Very tough.
And Dasha scored 14-7. And that's going to just about wrap it up for the United States in the team competition. Marta Caroli sees that with the scores as they are. The individual all-around, though, still up for grabs here is Holly Dykes, and that's what she'll need. She'll need 15-15 to surpass Memmel and Liukin and win the all-around.
I tell you, if she is capable of doing this, it would be huge beyond belief to defeat both Nastia Liukin, number 1, number 2 in the world right now. And it's a great vault, but a big, huge step on the landing. And I think she actually was over the line as well.
Yeah, she had the power, she had the distance, but she didn't have the line.
But I'll tell you, this is, in a lot of ways, her coming out party.
Yes. Feels like a debutante ball, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. A little bit crooked right from the get-go, and you see that foot outside of that line.
That's what Peggy said. This young lady needs time. She needs competition. She needs to figure it all out.
And there's the score, 14-6-5, so not enough for the individual. And it does mean that the United States are the team champions.
Very beautiful.
As the ladies are fitted for their championship wreaths. And so the United States by 6 points over Australia, and Canada finishes third. And now we'll hear from the winning American girls with Andrea Joyce.
Well, the U.S. team is definitely on a roll. Nastia, What are you looking forward to the most with this team? It seems like this is just the beginning.
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. You know, this team is such a strong team, probably one of the strongest we've had yet. And the team bonding was great. We all get along so good, and not just getting along, but I think it's such a great combination of girls, and I think this is just going to be a great start for this year.
You looked so unhappy after the floor. What happened?
Oh gosh, yeah, that was just, I don't know. I've been doing
laughing about it now.
I know. I've been doing so many changes. As you can probably see, all my routines are like completely different than they were at Worlds. So I think it's just the timing, you know, you need more time to get consistent at it, and it was just one of those little things, you know.
Chelsea, you're the veteran. You're on this team with this young talent. What do you see down the road for this group?
I see a lot of great things, a lot more wins for the U.S. Like Nastia said, the team is really deep. We have a lot of amazing girls coming up, too. So I think we'll be strong for quite a long time.
Okay, congratulations, guys. Back to you, Ted.
And separated by just 1/1000th of a point at the World Championships, Chelsea Memel and Nastia Lukin flat-footed tie here for the individual title. Now for Andrea Joyce, Elfie Schlegel, and Tim Daggett, I'm Ted Robinson saying aloha from Honolulu.